Hello everyone, welcome back to our math class. Today we are going to talk about how to create polynomial equation with graph. We are going to look at the different graphs of polynomial and read some key information from the graph, and then we're going to use those information to help us to determine the equation of the polynomial. Before we get started, I want to quickly review a form of polynomial which is factored form. So if you remember, factor form is actually we write the equation according to the different factors. We break down the equation into different form, different factor, and we multiply them together and we list them out, and this is called factor form. Factor form will be the one we are using to help us determine the equation of the polynomial. So let's check this one. So the first question, we have a graph of polynomial, as you can see. And if you remember what we discussed before, the degree is actually odd because we have two different directions, but that's not the key information. I just want to use this way to quickly review some key information we mentioned before. So we're going to determine the equation, and we have the graph here. That's the only information we have here. So that's why, based on the discussion we had before, in order to find the equation of the polynomial, the first thing we need two zeros. We need to use zeros. So according to the graph, we know the zeros are these 3 points here. So the first step, we are going to find zeros of the function. And use them to set up equation. So this time the equation is going to be in factored form. Okay, so as you can see, the zeros is -3. I'm going to use a different color so we know that -3, 2, and 8. So it's always a good idea to write them out. So when you plug into them, you clearly know what is going on. So it's going to be x plus 3, minus 2, and minus 8. Do not forget, because when we plug in the zeros into the equation, we'll be converting to the different sign, because that's the whole point of 0. When we plug in them into the equation, it becomes 0. Now, since before we know the point of the graph, so this time we are going to choose a point on the graph. Choose a point, and then we plug them into the equation. But there's one thing I want to remind you for the plugging to the point. So when we work on the point, you don't want to choose a point like this. This is not a good choice. And this kind of point is also not a good choice because you do not know the exact location. And sometimes it's always a good idea to choose some point to help you to do the calculation. So this time I'm going to choose a y-intercept, which is this point is going to be 0, 4. Remember, y-intercept, x is 0, so I'm going to choose this point. And then we know x is 0 and y is 4, so we just plug into this. Then we have 4 equal a is still something unknown, but now we can just easily replace every single x with 0, and we just need to continue do the calculation. So step 3, now we have equation simplified like this. We just need to solve the equation. So as you can see, the equation is very straightforward, is this number. So all we need to do, we just need to do the calculation. So we know 4 equals, and this number is 3 minus 2 minus 8. And after do the calculation, we know it's 4 equal 8 times 48. And to simplify, solve for a, we just need to divide by 48. For both sides, and a is 4 over 48. We can simplify with 1 over 12. Just want to remind you again, since the question asking us to determine the equation, so we need to write down the equation. So remember, the equation is original here, so the whole process helps us to find the value of a. We just need to replace the value of a. Then we have plus 3 minus 2 minus 8. And that will be our final answer here. Okay, so that's the whole process here. again, I'm still going to use a different example here to give you a quick demonstration regarding how to solve it and some special cases regarding what kind of point is a good choice. So let's quickly check the example 2. Okay, so for this one, to save our time, I'm gonna just write down the steps and without writing down the more details here. So as we mentioned, step 1, we're going to write down the zeros according to the graph is -5, 0, and 4. So we know the equation will be look like this. Some student was wondering how do I deal with 0. You can just write down -0, +0, doesn't matter because it will give you the same thing. But I just want to remind you, you cannot ignore 0 saying I do not x here. That's not going to work. So step 2, as we mentioned, we are going to choose a point. But some students might say, can I still choose y-intercept? Y-intercept is 0. If you plug into equation, you will know you will have 0 to 0. Of course, it's not going to work, right? So that's why we're going to choose some different point. Some students might wondering what kind of point is a good point. The point, you can read the coordinates clearly, like this point. The one is labeled clear is 1, 3. And if you notice, you also have another point, 3, 4 is also a good choice. So you want to choose a point that has a clear location. So this time, I'm going to choose a point 1, 3. And we know that x is 1, y is 3, so we can just plug into the equation as the value shows here. And we just need to continue to do the calculation, which is 6 times 1 times -3, and this is 3. So this one becomes 8 times -18 times this. All we need to do, we divide by -18 for both sides. Then we can easily solve for a, which is -3 over 18, and we can simplify this -1 over 6. But do not forget, you still need to write down the final. This is more like step 3. We already solved the equation, right? So step 4, we need to write down the final answer. But this time, we're going to make sure the a is replaced with actual value here, 1 over 6. Then it's x plus 5. Then x minus 0 here is actually can simplify with x because x minus anything is -0 is itself, and then you can write this. So if you wanna, you can also just put the x in the front. So it's more like very neat way to demonstrate the final answer. So that's it. So it doesn't matter you write this way or this way, they're all correct. But please keep in mind, several things I need to remind you. When we put zeros, do not forget the sign, switching the sign. And when you plug in a point, make sure you choose a point with a clear location like this one or this one. Definitely this kind of point is not a good choice, right? And also lastly, do not forget to write down the equation by simplification. So after the simplification, so that's all. That's all what I want to share with you regarding how do we use graph to create an equation or polynomial. I hope this video is helpful, and thank you so much for watching and studying this topic with me. See you soon, everyone.